Ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Capera. I'm the Park and Rec Director for Middletown Township. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight to the recycling seminar. Before we get started, I'm going to do a little housekeeping thing. So first off, we have this seminar tonight, and then on March 28th, we have another one about rain gardens, okay? This is all part of the Environmentally Speaking series, which is led by our Environmental Advisory Council. That group meets on the fourth Wednesday every month at 5:30 p.m. So if you ever want to get involved, if you have any issues, if you want some trees planted in your neighborhood, that's the greatest place to reach out, okay? Everybody has the quiz on their desk. You can fill it out. You can not fill it out. We have some pencils. Please share. Come on in. Squeeze in. Here we go, okay? The restrooms are through the wall, so if you need to go anytime during the night, just go through those doors and you're good to go, okay? At the end of the seminar, after all the wild applause and everything else like that, stay tuned because I'm going to come back for another announcement about recycling containers. So I don't want you to get too excited about it now, so I want you to pay attention, okay? Folks, we got some seats over here, so if you want to just start getting in there, we put out 80 chairs, so we love having that many people, okay? So the quizzes won't be graded, but the last slide is going to be all about the questions so you can see how good you're doing, okay? So without further ado, I want to introduce from Waste Management, Patty Barthel and Jennifer Smith. They were kind enough to come out for tonight. Yes, applause, please. And again, I want to thank you for coming to the Environmentally Speaking series. And at that point, I am going to pass the mic to Ms. Barthel.
Thank you so much, Paul. Good evening. I am Patty Barthel. As you can see on the slide, I do public affairs, which also means I get to go out and educate folks. But I will tell you that presentations like this, where we're talking about a subject that not everybody understands, I get educated too. So tonight we're going to try and simplify recycling, and I also have Jennifer Smith with me. And I'll give Jen a few seconds to just kind of give you an overview of what she does with waste management also.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Patty, for the introduction. Yes, my name's Jennifer Smith. I've been with Waste Management now for almost 17 years. Started in the construction realm, and now I do contract management. So anytime Middletown goes out for bid, I'm managing the contract, I'm putting the bids together, and day-to-day account management type stuff. Yep.
Thank you. At the end, we're going to run through the presentation, and then at the end, I see some of you have brought along some questions or some questionable items, and I think that's really good because then as a group, we can walk through, is it recyclable? Isn't it recyclable? If it is, why is it? If it isn't, why isn't it? And we'll go from there. So this is the biggest group I've had in quite a long time, obviously because of the pandemic. But I appreciate you coming out, and so we'll get started. Who here thinks they do recycling perfectly? Oh, she does she? All right. I may get you to answer the questions. So recycling really is not that difficult. All right, where am I pointing that it's not going? Give me 1 second. Well, do you want to click it for me? I think you can just do this one. Okay, thank you. The thing about recycling is that it all sounds wonderful. When it works well, it's not just the result of waste management doing the right thing or a company taking the recyclables, making new products. It really comes back to the consumer, to us as individuals. It comes back to us in the very beginning when we talk about collection. That's the you, well, and the me, but that's the you. The individuals who are trying to do the right thing, to put the right things in the container, so that when it goes to the next step, processing, that our efforts and your efforts aren't wasted. It makes no sense to put something in a recycling bin that ends up as garbage. It just makes no sense. It's a waste of fuel, waste of time, and maybe there's something else that can be done with it. Processing is what we do. Waste Management has a very large material recovery facility here in Philadelphia, and that's where your recyclables go to be processed. Then it also depends on the end market. Is there a place for them to go? Who really wants those bottles anyway? You know, is somebody going to use this cardboard? What are they going to use it for? Why is it important? Why does a company care whether or not there's grease on the pizza box? All those things are very important because of the end market. So the end market, what they need, we have to meet as a processor, and our job is to make sure what you're putting in will then meet the criteria and what the absolute end markets will need. That's also where money can be made, is when the end markets want the product, are willing to pay for the product, and it makes all of that process worthwhile. Did I do it? It worked. So who here has never seen a recycle symbol? Okay. The problem with the recycling symbol is this: not everybody knows what it means. So the arrows, or sometimes called the Mobius loop, the chasing arrows that everybody sees, which symbolizes recycling, on a particular product, like a water bottle, or even on the bottom of, say, a milk jug, there's a certain number inside. And the reason they're numbered is because it signifies what the material type is. It does not signify whether you can put it in your bin. So it's a little tricky. It's actually its name. Most of these products' names are about this big, and it won't fit on the bottom of the milk jug. So they assign them numbers. Your number ones, the PET or PETE, is what you normally find, say, in water bottles or other types of squeezable containers, mustard containers, things that are flexible. Your number twos, your HDPE, high-density polyethylene, those are strong, sturdy plastics, something you would find different types of maybe chemicals or stronger products in, like your laundry detergent, Clorox. Those products come in HDPE. The third one is vinyl. I believe it's vinyl. The fourth one is LDPE, which is low-density polyethylene, kind of like the high-density, but just not quite as good. You have PP, polypropylene. That is another type of plastic that is recyclable. You see that a lot of times in your, say, yogurt cups. And I think you brought one of those with you, didn't you? Did you have something like that with your containers? You do? Okay. Or a butter dish. Cream cheese, that's probably polypropylene also. Number 6 is a tricky one. That stands for polystyrene. What's the more common word for polystyrene? Styrofoam. I'm not allowed to say that in my presentation because Dow Chemical owns the word. So we're all just going to say foam or polystyrene. Polystyrene comes in 2 types. It comes in a hard plastic, and then it comes in the foamy plastic. That's great for insulation. It's inside your refrigerator, it's inside your coolers, and unfortunately, a lot of times it's inside our plates, our cups, things that we're using only once. Polystyrene cannot be recycled through a MRF because it shreds and breaks up into little teeny pieces of litter. The hard polystyrene, the hard number 6, can go in the bin. There are some markets that'll take it in the hard sense, but generally most curbside programs will not take polystyrene if it's foamed. So none of the packing peanuts, none of the foam that comes in that brand new television you got at Christmas, or your, Dunkin' Donut cups or whatever, whoever's using styrofoam, who's using foam for their individual cups. So remember, the symbol means what kind of material am I? Hopefully it means, check and see if I can be recycled. If you have a product that doesn't have any of those things on, now I'm talking about your plastics, obviously you're not going to find it on your cardboard. But if it's not on a plastic item at all, do not put it in your bin. Commit it right to trash. Don't even bother. Oh, I'm sorry, number 7. Other. I don't know. Right, because it could be made from different types of polymers, and it doesn't have a specific type. Right, a blended material or something that's layered could be different that way too. I'm sorry? Yes, it is. If the number 7 is on it, correct. At the MRF, at our material recovery facility, you're allowed to put in, and even here in Middletown, The recyclables are 1 through 7. I will tell you the ones of most value, or let me ask you, which ones do you think have the most value in the market? Which one has the greatest volume of materials? Which one? 1 and 2, absolutely. And if any of you were around when Act 101 came to pass and all the municipalities had to start recycling at least 3 products, the only plastics that were collected in the beginning of recycling as a mandated service were numbers 1 and number 2. It's the largest volume of plastics that we buy in the grocery stores. And the more people use bottled water, that gets even larger than it was originally. The other one is, so 1s and 2s are the ones with the greatest value because there's more of it, and it can be turned into something else rather readily. And then also number 5, which are your butter dishes, your yogurt dishes. There are better markets for those 3 items. The others, when it's sorted, and you'll see a short video soon that shows you how things are sorted through the facility. The others all get combined into like one whole stream, and they go to another processor to be separated again. And we can talk about that a little bit further. But in our facilities, we are separating the 5s, we're separating the 2s, and we're separating the 1s, and they're getting baled and sold as separate commodities. No, not to my knowledge.
She asked if there were 9.
Oh, thank you. She's so good.
So everybody can hear.
So when we talk about what goes in and what doesn't go in, you've all seen the rules. There's, always a list somewhere that shows you what can I put in, what can I not put in. But then there's always those little teeny one-offs that you just aren't sure. And in fact, there was a question earlier about one of the questions on the quiz that, do I or don't I leave a cap on? Well, the question is, what kind of cap is it? How big is the cap? What is the cap made of? So we can talk about that too towards the end, but I'll tell you that one, there's no wrong answer. So these items, these are some additional flyers that we have available, and I think that Christina and Stephanie have these. Maybe, are they posted on the website?
Are on the website.
Okay. So
If not, we can send them and have them posted.
One of the most important things you want to look at is there's basic types of recyclables. Obviously, your plastic bottles and containers in the upper left-hand corner, paper, which encompasses copy paper, tablet paper, newspaper, any type of household paper can go in your recycle bin. Make sure that it's clean paper. Don't wrap fish in it and then put that in without the fish. Yes? The question is old photos. No. Do not process, I would not. Because of the fact that they have a layering process on them, I would not. Glass bottles and containers or jars, always acceptable. Make sure that they are free of debris, free of liquids. Flattened cardboard and paperboard. Those are your tissue boxes, your toothpaste boxes, your cereal boxes, cracker boxes, and also your larger corrugated cardboard. As you can imagine, the amount of corrugated cardboard being processed in the country right now is incredible. It's actually leveled off a little bit, and who can tell me why it was so high over the last 2 years? The pandemic, that's right. If you wanted it, they brought you right to your door, and it had a spiffy new box that it came in. Food and beverage cans. Any type of can that held a food or a beverage. Beer cans, soda cans, tuna cans, dog food cans. Just make sure that there's no debris inside and that if there's any liquids, those are also poured out. Because what you leave in your container can actually contaminate or ruin another type of recyclable that someone took care in putting in their bin. So if I'm putting in really nice newsprint and my neighbor throws in a glass jar that's still half full of sauce, spaghetti sauce, and it gets mixed in with my paper's ruined when it gets to the MRF, and it'll end up as being trash because the paper manufacturers don't want food in the paper. It doesn't process well. They end up with holes in their paper. Yes, ma'am? That's why everything needs to be cleaned before it's in the bin. Yeah, the paper all goes in there together. Everything can go in the same bin together. That's what single stream is all about. On the right-hand side, there's items that you'd be surprised, but we still find them. that people have at their homes and just think, well, maybe they'll figure out what to do with it when it gets to the MRF. Christmas lights, not recyclable. You laugh. It happens all the time. Bowling balls, one year. No, I'm not kidding. This happens all the time. I think the last time I got a count
I've
was
seen it.
probably 2018. It was what, 80 tons across the company, 80 tons of bowling balls. You know, because they're plastic. Let's just try. No, don't. Because it can mess up the equipment or injure one of our employees when they're not expecting a strike. Yes. In the good old days, remember we had to wash them and we had to really do the whole thing. No, you do not need to remove the label from the outside of a can unless you're involved with a school that collects them. Some of the schools used to do labels for education, and a lot of the, okay, everybody's nodding, so you've heard of that and you've had some locally. That's a way you can get rid of them. It does not affect the metal. That particular type of material, the way in which it's smelted, and most of the time the label is not going to be on it by the time it reaches a manufacturer.
When it goes through the sorting process, most of the time it gets torn off anyway, the paper.
Right. You could take it off and put it in as paper. Yes, you could. If it's part of the container, don't worry about taking it off. Because the bottle manufacturer, for the water bottles, no, you can leave the labels on. Is it a clamshell? That extra, you mean, talk about the container or some type of overwrap? If it's a strip, an actual, yeah, I would say, is it a paper label or a plastic label? No, it's fine. You don't have to tear that off. If it's adhered
it'll
to
go
it.
through the sorting process.
Right.
And you'll see a video in a minute of some of the sorting process
Right.
and why that would be able to be torn off
And
during
see,
the
now
process.
here is the issue, okay? Recycling is simple. What we buy isn't. You know, a product that I use and maybe you use and that you use all comes from 3 different manufacturers. They're in different types of containers. One has a paper label, one has a plastic label, one has no label. You know, that's the hard part. It all begins in what you're purchasing and knowing that what you're purchasing can have a second life if it meets criteria for being in your recycle bin. Yes, ma'am.
Seal on it? I want to know, does the
No, you do not need to remove glue off of any container. Remember when we first started, we had the labels that, the envelopes that came with the little window, and we all had to peel the windows? Nope. Here's why. When recycling first became mandated, okay, consumers were up for it. Municipalities were up for it. The problem was the folks down the line weren't ready. So they wanted their paper to only be white paper or only newsprint or only envelopes without windows. Since that time, because manufacturers now know that there is value in recycled material, they have put in processes in front of the manufacturing. So a lot of the things that we did in the 90s, in the early 90s, or before that, those of us that did it long before that, but in the early 90s when it started being mandated, manufacturers changed their process to allow things to come that weren't perfect. They then made them perfect for what they needed. And so that has continued, that practice today.
Patty, we had one other question over
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No? Do you want me to ask it for you?
Yeah.
So for the yogurt containers,
Yes.
the thin metal
No.
on the top
No.
that goes directly in the trash can.
Correct.
What if I,
That's the same as foil. Foil should not go in your recycle bin.
so if I take the foil off the lid, off the container, it's okay?
No, take the lid off, eat your yogurt, throw the peel, the seal, in the trash.
But when you open them, there's still aluminum foil.
That's okay.
around.
That little teeny bit that's adhered, that's okay. Yeah, just don't throw the seal in with it. That's a great question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
So here we are. Again, whose job is it to make recycling work? Well, it's up to the consumer, based on what we buy, why we buy, how we buy, and then what we do with it. So you have to consider There's a lot of folks that will say, well, you know, I shop at Costco. I buy in bulk. I'm not paying for all that packaging. Well, if your Oreos are coming 4 to a pack and you're still buying a 40-pound box, how much packaging? I mean, you're still buying all the extra packaging. Just because you bought it in a big box doesn't make it, you know, any less wasteful with the packaging that's inside. So think about the things you're buying. Think about whether there's a choice. If on the shelf, something that you're buying, and I have this in another slide, if you look at the way things have changed in the, many of us in the room, not everybody, but many of us in the room remember the glass Jif jars, correct? With the metal lids. Then plastic started becoming popular. I don't know if people got klutzy and were just dropping a lot of things, and plastic became big, but everything started moving towards plastic. That too, I know, I'm teasing. So when you look at those two items, the old style Jif jars, peanut butter jars, and the new style, all of that is recyclable. But packaging has changed dramatically in the things we buy today, even though the product inside is still the same. So when you're purchasing something for washing, doing your laundry, I happen to be a laundry liquid user because I know when the liquid's used up, I put water in the container, put it in the last load, and then I put the whole container in recycling. I'm not left with any garbage. I'm not left with any trash. I understand the purpose of pods. I understand the convenience of pods. The question is then, do you buy the pods in a little sealable pouch? Can the pouch be recycled? No, not in your regular single stream system. Yes, the little pods dissolve. Not sure how that works yet. The little pods dissolve, and then the pouch is going to end up as trash. If you use powder, if it comes in a plastic container, that container is likely able to be recycled, or if it comes in a box, that box could then be recycled. So consumers today are looking for ways for things to be more convenient. And that's not a bad word, but sometimes it just translates to a whole lot more waste that really wasn't intended, like with the pods, or even the Starkist tuna. No offense to any of these brands, these are just examples. The tuna fish used to come in a can, open it up, rinse the can, the whole can plus the lid goes into the container for recycling. Wonderful. We love metal cans. Now it comes in a pouch. Not only, I mean, you can choose. So if you want to take your tuna to work, open the can in the morning, put your tuna in a reusable container, and you don't have to play with the pouch, and you don't have to throw the pouch away. Options. Everybody has an option. So what we're saying is when it goes from something like a steel can that is easily recyclable, or an HDPE laundry detergent container, which is easily recyclable, or even a glass Jif jar, easily recyclable, and gets moved over to different configurations, it changes the way we have to look at recycling. The question becomes, if you're buying it, is it my job to recycle it? Or can I only just recycle the things that I know have an end use, have a market, and can become something else? There is no way that all the different types of products and packaging that are on the market today can ever be totally recycled. Will never be zero waste because it keeps changing. There's always little variations that kick them out of the system, or they just don't have a home to be made into something else. Here's some other examples. Things that you think about having in bulk, like coffee, singles, you buy them in little singles, you make it separately, stuff that's on the go. It may work because it's something you need for your lifestyle, but just remember too, you're not maybe recycling or using those items over again as well as you could be. Same thing with fruits and vegetables. And I'm bad for this. I don't necessarily want to peel the carrots and chop them up just because I'm making something for dinner. I will bag. I'll grab the bag that's already nice and pretty, little crinkle cuts. I'll do that. Not always, but I will do that. But these items, too, are going into lunch boxes every day, every day, every day. Snacks on the go. And it's all about the packaging. The stuff inside doesn't taste any different than if it was in a larger package or in bulk. Oh, that was for a different type of example. They're not representative of anything in particular. Good catch. No, do not look at the numbers. No, 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 no. Don't, no, the numbers mean nothing.
Oh, no, I know from looking at those containers,
Right. Oh, okay.
I was wondering, things like that can be recycled. You know, like pudding cups and.
Yes, it's like a yogurt cup. It's a number 5. You can.
Yes, number 5 recyclables.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
Can be recycled.
So a friend of mine who also lives in Middletown Township texted me or called me the other day and said, hey, I know you're doing this presentation, and she wasn't coming this evening. She's like, how about if I get some pictures? And I said, well, if you take pictures through the neighborhood, make sure that nobody's house number's on it, you know, that nothing is identifiable, because we don't want to make anybody feel bad. But I have to know,
Is this anybody's waste?
whose recyclables are these? Does this look familiar to anyone? It's really not bad. There's one on there that is really bad. Why is the one really bad? What do we have? Plastic bag. Now, I want to tell you the real sad part about plastic bags. The bag itself cannot be recycled, but I bet that person who put that out cleaned those containers and really prepped them, but put them in a bag so they wouldn't blow away or wouldn't, you know, the local, you know, dog wouldn't get them or whatever. The problem is they cannot be in there. No, that's correct. Take them back to the grocery store or another collection. When you see the way the equipment works, that's separating yours from his and hers, there is no way plastic bags survive. In fact, it ruins the equipment, and you'll get to see that. There's only one picture in there that's perfect. And of course, that was hers. I just bought this with a lid. I'm like, that's great. Lids are important if you have one or can cover it in some way, because weather, you can't help for weather. You do all this work, yeah, I know you're only getting it picked up, once a week. You want to put out all your newspaper and all your boxes, and then it rains. And then a lot of times what will happen is when it gets in the truck or it gets into the sorting system, that wet paper and wet cardboard wraps itself around the other recyclables. And so as it's going through the system, when we have certain types of lights and magnets trying to separate things, it can't see them. And so while the paper is slightly ruined, it can hide other items from the sorting system itself. So these other items are good. That plastic bag is a no-no and probably got refused and ended up being picked up as trash. Sad to say, but we cannot and will not pick through your a closed container. It's not safe for our employees. The other ones, the items all look terrific, but try and break your boxes down. If you make them as small as you can, and I know sometimes it's really hard, but if you pop the ends open and flatten it out and try and get them inside, or at least, you know, keep them from running amok, that makes it easier for collection. If you can.
If you can, take the labels off. Is that where you're?
He was asking about the tape.
About the
labels
tape.
are not so much a problem.
Okay.
Sometimes that'll just peel right off. I would suggest, though, and they don't usually do this too often anymore, you know, the big staples? They will rip your arm open in a system. And, you know, just going past it, if you've ever hurt yourself on it. If you can take those big cartons that you get appliances or TVs, whatever, those big staples are actually very dangerous. So if you can pry them, or even just, I don't care if you cut around it and throw that away. That makes it a lot safer. Yes, ma'am.
We have a couple questions.
Correct.
Should you bring them back in or throw them in your regular trash if they're going to ruin the recyclable?
If your boxes get wet in the middle of the night, should you bring them back in? I would leave them out. They're still going to get picked up. The problem is that wet paper, wet cardboard ends up degrading quickly. And so the value of it becomes less when it's baled. It's not wrong, understand? It's just, it's not good for the paper. So if you can hold it till you know it's going to be a good day, terrific. If you can get a bin that has a lid, that's terrific. That's not always the easiest thing to do when we're all used to the smaller curbside bins. But there's ways around that. You just have to kind of be creative from time to time. So now you did all this work. You bought stuff you know can be recycled. You cleaned it. You got all the debris out of it. Oh, I'm sorry, question?
Can you bundle your cardboard with like twine?
Yes.
Can you bundle your cardboard
Yes.
with twine?
We still prefer the cardboard to be within a container, but if you can bundle it, are you flattening it? Yes.
Like cardboard milk containers?
Cartons, like milk cartons or chicken stock cartons, yes, rinse it, and they will actually go through the system and come out as mixed paper. So it goes in with the paper stream, not the cardboard stream. Okay, good question. Yes, this MRF here in Philadelphia will accept cartons. Not all do. We have an
Depends on
agreement
your-
with the
it
Carton
depends on
Council to
your-
accept them.
On your township. Here in Middletown, yes.
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 So those cartons that you mentioned, the lid that's on it, that can be recycled too?
That can be.
Okay.
You won't be fined if your little plastic lid is on it, but it's easier to flatten if it's not on. My recommendation would be this. Anything that you can open with 2 fingers, that lid is too small. So if it becomes separated from your container, it's going to fall through the sorting system and go out as trash. So water bottles, those little caps, okay? You're not opening your laundry detergent with 2 fingers. You're cranking. It's a bigger cap. That's fine. That stays connected. It's those little bottles, the little caps that you find on water bottles and so forth, that really, it doesn't make a difference one way or the other, but if it gets separated from the bottle before it's baled, it's going as trash.
And you'll see that in the video as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Why the sorting process
So-
matters.
Laundry, even though it's totally different plastic than the laundry container.
Is it? What kind do you use?
Actually, now I use paper strips.
Look at you go. All right.
Round of applause
no,
for that.
your normal, right, yes, it's the same plastic. Those lids are HDPE, high density polyethylene, same as the container. Yeah, so that whole container can go. Make sure you use all the laundry detergent first. Okay, we're going to hold questions a little bit longer because I want to make sure we get through this, and then we'll make sure we have time for everybody's questions. So you've done all this good work. You put it outside, and you're hoping for the best. Now comes our job. You did your job, now comes our job. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you, once it gets to our material recovery facility, how it gets separated into each of the individual items again. One thing I want you to take a look at is the photo on the right. Do you see these 2 men that are walking up a piece of equipment? Go ahead, Jen. That is all plastic. That's all plastic bags, film plastic, dry cleaner bags, water bottle, overwrap, all gets bound around. How many of you, when you're sweeping at home and you suck up a shoestring? Same kind of thing. It gets caught on there, and what'll happen is what they're walking on is called a screen. So it has all these rods with these rubber wheels that is basically twisting and twirling and separating recyclables in a specific method. When it gets on that rod, it gets hot, and it starts to melt on there. 6 to 7 times a day, the entire plant gets shut down. These fellas have to hook up harnesses, shut the equipment off, and go in and cut that all out by hand. This is where Christmas lights go to die. Okay? That's the problem with a lot of the things that we say, we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it, because it's a danger to the equipment or to the employees. All right, now we're going to show a quick video, if this works the way I'm hoping. I'm terribly sorry. Give me a second here. I've lost myself. Trust me, it's a really good video. Where's my mouse? Why is it acting? I can't find it. I can't see it. It's not showing up. Would you hold that?
Yes, I can. I'm trying to go to that YouTube video.
And what's your name again? This is Dustin.
Thank you, Dustin.
Dustin.
We all know it's a good idea to recycle. But what happens to that aluminum can or all that paper after you put it in the recycling bin? Where does it go? What does it become in its second life? How does this water bottle become a backpack, jeans or shoes, or even a WM shirt? Let's find out. This is a material recovery facility, or a MRF, and this is where the real work of recycling begins. Here at the MRF, the WM trucks unload all their material onto what we call the tip floor. Next up, a trip to a massive conveyor belt that takes all this material to a pre-sort room. Here's where sorters work by hand to remove stuff that should not go into your curbside recycling bin. Stuff like batteries, plastic bags, Christmas lights, clothes, pretty much anything that can clog or break the MRF's equipment, or worse, hurt one of the employees. Now that we've minimized contaminants, the real sorting can begin. Cups, cans, containers, and bottles are separated from newspaper and other paper materials. Then comes the eddy current. This part is pretty cool. An electric current backs the aluminum off the conveyor belt and into a metal-only stream. All these materials are separated and compacted into bales, like hay bales. Forklifts move the bales into a finished product area where they're inspected for quality. Once they get the thumbs up, these bales of metal, plastic, and paper are shipped around the country to different companies that'll give them a second life or turning them into new stuff. This process is all about creating this circular economy where everything is being reused and recycled so that less stuff ends up in a landfill. Last year, WM recycled 10 million tons of material across 103 facilities like this one across the country. That's amazing, but we can do even more, and you can help by recycling right. This pair of sneakers started out looking like this. So did this shirt, these jeans.
Thank you, Dustin.
Slight commercial break. Thank you. Now, I realize if you were watching very closely, where was this video filmed? Ooh, yeah, good crew, good crew. The systems that are in Salt Lake City, that's a very new facility, but the processes are identical. The only difference is the new facility where this video came from, it was much shorter. The video that we have for the Philadelphia piece is about 8 minutes long, and it's really tedious, so I didn't want to show that one to you. That shows you the processes, how the paper goes one way, the aluminum goes another way, plastic is sorted, and then allows them all to be contained in separate bunkers until they're prepped for shipment. So when we look at what's coming into the Philadelphia Material Recovery Facility right off of I-95, this is what the composition is by weight. Okay, now keep in mind, some of these things weigh more than others. A tin can obviously weighs more than a water bottle. But these are the percentages of materials that are coming in and being processed. 20% of the materials that are brought in that come from folks like you and me is going to be residue, leftovers, trash, something that maybe could have been recycled and something that just absolutely couldn't be recycled. It's all of the above. So if I'm putting in that plastic bag, like that one was where it was all inside a container, to keep them dry and keep them nice and neat and safe, would actually end up going through the whole entire system and going out the other end into the trash. Because the system can't find the recyclables. They're supposed to be separate so that we can separate them based on how they act. Like the aluminum cans got pushed away by a negative current and popped away from all the other items, okay? Glass is heavier, so when glass goes through the system, there's separation processes where the glass falls out the bottom and everything else continues onward. Now, just as when we're talking about that, what do you need for sustainable recycling? We talked about collection, picking the right things, processing, that's the us. This is the them. And after the them comes us again. So here we are looking at what does it mean when we talk about recycled markets? Who's doing the buying? Why are they buying? What are they buying? And how much are they willing to pay? If you look at the first chart, and I realize it's very small, but these are called OCC, which is your old corrugated cardboard. At one point in time, September of 2021, we were still in a pandemic, right? Cardboard selling in New York was $185 a ton. That's one of the highest numbers we've ever seen. From there, it slowly started ticking down. And what was happening as we came into 22? People were going back to work. They're not having everything shipped to their homes. Less and less is happening with regard to the cardboard market till you get all the way down to up to August 22nd, August of 22 and September of 22, it has a huge drop. So it slowly ticked down, and then all of a sudden, the bottom kind of fell out of the pricing. Because what happened was as demand became less for cardboard shipping boxes, the box companies had inventory, and they're sitting on their inventory. Then when demand comes back up, they ship out all their inventory, and the production is too far behind. So supply and demand will change what this pricing is like. Now, I'm being told by our recycling marketing team or the pricing teams that the pricing right now is slowly coming back up again. The two items that have the best value in the market is your cardboard and your aluminum or your metals. Those can be recycled, and everybody, they're large volumes and they're very simple, if you will, to recycle, and there's a lot of folks who want to use that material. Here's some of the buyers that we personally work with here in the greater Mid-Atlantic. Mohawk Carpet is a huge buyer of recycled plastic. Dow Tile is a huge buyer of recycled plastic, as well as glass. Anheuser-Busch, wonder what they'd like. Aluminum cans, beverage cans. Georgia Pacific, they want fiber. So they are getting all kinds of paperboard, white paper, mixed paper, cardboard. They're making it into tissue and construction products. The paper for insulation. All that stuff comes from the recyclables that you're putting in your bin. Same way with Pratt Industries, which I did not know who they were. I had to look them up. And WestRock. Those are both fiber users. Some make cardboard boxes. Some make the really big, strong shipping containers. They're just out there servicing all the needs of packing and shipping when it comes to cardboard. These are huge buyers in our marketplace. Now let's talk about cardboard locally. When we looked at those pictures, what was the one thing everybody had trouble getting in their bin? Cardboard. However, the township, being pretty smart, knowing that you folks must buy a lot on Amazon, decided long ago to put in 2 dumpsters. These are available 24 hours a day. One is located at the community park. One is located at the Department of Public Works. So if you're worried about your cardboard getting too wet and you're going by, please take your cardboard and put it in one of these 2 containers. They have the lid on, they have the slot. Yes, you're gonna have to flatten your cardboard to get it in the slot. These are emptied every week. So let's suppose at the holidays you get a big shipment in, or maybe you don't want your neighbors knowing you bought that television. I have that problem sometimes. You think, well, I don't want to put this big box out and advertise something that I received. You never know sometimes who may be driving by. So these containers are meant for everyone to use for any type of excess cardboard you may have. So please feel free to use them at your leisure. And again, they're available 24 hours a day. They're not behind locked gates. So you can do it on your way home from work, off to church, whatever the case may be. And now for the public service announcement. Okay. How many of you have heard about trash trucks catching fire? We actually had a fire down at our facility in Philadelphia a few years ago. Majority of those come from batteries. The batteries in your cell phones, the rechargeable batteries, vehicle batteries, but especially the lithium batteries are a major issue. They can never go in your waste can. They can never go in your recycle bin. Although they're recyclable and rechargeable, they act very differently when the casing is cracked, and they will sometimes spontaneously combust. Has caused a lot of problems and a lot of injuries. How many of you have seen the YouTube video of, the guy's pants catches on fire because his cell phone battery went bad, or, something on a plane, somebody's phone catches fire? That's these types of batteries. Please make sure that you take them to a specific collection. The lithium batteries, which are up top, those are the ones we're talking about. They never, never, never go in your trash or recycling. They have to be collected separately. Vehicle batteries, kind of a no-brainer. It's lead acid. Should never put those in a trash bin or in a recycle bin. Most of your automotive stores will gladly take them back at no charge because they're having all the material inside those batteries recycled. They have the option to do that, and they have buyers for it. The other types of batteries, though, your alkaline and your nickel, you can drop them off. There's some collection sites, but to be honest, your alkaline batteries, you're just standard disposable ones. It takes more energy and creates more harm to the environment to remove what's in it than to throw it away. To remove the little bit amount of material that's in it, the nickel, it takes too much effort and it takes too much energy, water, etc., to break those batteries down. Those are truly disposable. And those you can put in your trash, just not in your recycle bin.
Patty, can we take a question?
Yeah.
Point of information, lithium batteries can be dropped off at, oh my God, Best Buy. I do it all the time whenever I have
Best
them.
Buy.
Oh, another public service announcement.
Yep.
The lithium batteries, you said,
Batteries.
can be dropped off at Best Buy.
Yeah, I dropped off a whole bunch last week from old cell phones.
Yes, perfect.
And they're usually right when you walk in the front door. They have
Okay.
their electronics recycling
Who
there.
else would you think would take them? Staples, Best Buy, would Walmart take them also? A lot of places do, light bulbs. I would assume they would do batteries. Batteries plus, okay.
And they usually take plastic bags.
Nice. You get a 2 for 1 there. Okay. So thank you so much. Who wants to see the answers to the quiz? Did everybody do the quiz? Did you think that was kind of silly? Were some of them tricky? Okay. All right, here we go. Number 1. Which of these are a benefit of recycling? Reduces waste to the landfill, conserves natural resources, reduces greenhouse gas emissions, or all of the above? All of the above. Good job. How much trash does the average American produce each day? Answer is B, 4 pounds. I remember when it was 5 pounds, so woohoo, we're doing good. Number 3, can rubber items go in your curbside bin? No. How many times can an aluminum can be recycled? Infinitely. You've all seen the movies of the war efforts with World War I, World War II. If you didn't happen to have a family member tell you about it, they were collecting their old pots and pans and metal. They were just trying to make new equipment and, keep the war effort going. Metal, whether it's aluminum, whether it's steel, it can be recycled over and over and over again without very much new material being added. It's truly, and can be made right back into the same material. Plastics are different. Plastics, because of the way they're created, have to be made into something else than what they started out as. And the more times you recycle plastic, the more deteriorated it becomes. So your metal gets reused over and over, and it maintains the same strength and stability, if you will. Paper is another one, slowly degrades over time. So your corrugated box might come back to your house as a cracker box, then the next time it may show up as your paper towel. Now you're not going to recycle your paper towel, or it could end up in your bathroom as a box of tissues or on a roll. So paper over time slowly gets less and less strength in its fibers until it becomes, a tissue. Number 5, should you remove bottle caps from your bottles before recycling? I always say yes, but then I always consider what kind of cap it is. If it's a small cap, twisting with 2 fingers, it's trash. because it's probably not going to stay on that container when it goes through that system. It's going to pop right off and become trash anyway. Larger caps, like your laundry detergent, yes, please. Metal caps on glass jars, yes, please. Both of those items can remain together because through this system, the glass is going to actually break away from the lid. Number 6, what should not go in a recycle bin? Mirrors, dirty food containers, plastic or metal clothes hangers, or all of the above. All of the above. What should go in your bin? Plastic bags, garden hose, empty shampoo bottle, or shredded paper? Shampoo bottle. Who knows why you have shredded paper in your bin? Ticker tape, right? It gets in the fizzle. Okay, number 1, how are you going to put it in? Where are you going to put it in? Paper bag. Okay, then when it goes to our system, what happens to all those little scraps? They ticker tape, right? So if you're going to recycle shredded paper, it needs to go someplace that specifically will take it and shred it. My best advice is only shred what you have to. Okay? If you're getting some kind of offer from an obscure company, take the page out that has your name on it, or blacken it out. If you're shredding your paper, oh my goodness. Sorry. Thank you. If I apologize. Shredded paper. Do not put it in a recycle bin because it will end up falling apart all over the place and become litter inside the plant, or end up mixed in with other recyclables after they're separated. Take it somewhere where they can accept it. Best option is only remove the confidential information from your papers. The rest of it can go in the bin. It's an envelope from Publishers Clearinghouse. Nobody's going to get any information on you from Publishers Clearinghouse. So those kinds of things, be really strategic about what you recycle, but you don't have to shred everything. Number 8, recycling 1 ton of paper would save enough energy to power the average home for how many months? 6 months. What 3 things can you do to recycle correctly? Keep them clean and dry, recycle your empty bottles, cans, and paper, and keep plastic bags out of your curbside bins. So, all of the above. Number 10, what material can shut down a recycle plant? Plastic bags is the biggest offender. And it's not just the grocery bags, it's any kind of that filmy, stringy plastic. Number 11, what is an incorrect recycling practice? That answer is B. Incorrect would be placing your recyclables in plastic bags and then placing them in the bin. Pouring liquid out is a good thing. Flattening your boxes is a good thing. And making sure recyclable food containers are clean and dry. And can napkins, paper towels, and tissues be recycled? No, because it has no strength left in it. It's just going to be mush. There's no value to fibers of that type of weight. Thank you. Thank you all very much for coming tonight. Does anybody have any other specific questions? Okay.
First, thanks very much for this, but you said try to get the tape off of boxes, but like the Amazon taped cardboard is almost impossible to get off. And okay.
If it's already peeling, peel it off, but don't fight it.
Plastic bottles have a shrink wrap label, like the
Oh,
shrink wrap plastic. Should I be cutting that away?
the question was about shrink-wrapped labels.
If it's stuck on the container, that's fine. If it's coming off, yeah, do that. But basically, they expect that label to be on it.
Okay.
Yeah. The question is the wrapper around a water bottle case, can we recycle that? That is no different than a plastic grocery bag. So that should be recycled back at the grocery store or somewhere where they take what's known as film plastic. So your shrink wraps are called film, same as your dry cleaner bags, same as your grocery bags, your garbage bags. Do not put that in. All the bottles we want, the little, if you've got a cardboard thing on the bottom, we'll take that, but just not the overwrap.
Prescription pill bottles. That's okay?
Well, they'll have your name on it.
Yeah, sometimes it's
So,
Yeah, I would peel your label off first. Okay, so that's one that I have to think about. Number 1, is there a logo on it? Does it have a number? On the bottle, on a prescription bottle. If it does not have a number, do not put it in.
Good rule of
Now,
thumb.
I have like a bottle of ibuprofen. It's got a little number on, so I know that I can recycle that. But the smaller a container gets, it's like the lid principle. You know, so you got to use your best judgment.
Oh, good.
Some of them do, some of them don't.
If it has a label, if it has a number on it, then yes, and I would leave the cap on. But again, take your label off.
Yeah, as long as it
They're
does.
making them easier to remove now, I think, because of that.
I can't tell the number from, it's very small.
When the market collapses, what do you do with the material in your facilities that has accumulated?
Here's one of the benefits of being the largest recycler in the country, is the fact that we have contracts. We have contracts with various companies, various buyers like the Mohawks and so forth, where even if the rest of the market will not accept material, we have direct partnerships where our material gets to keep going. We may be paying them to take it, but the material has to keep going. A MRF is not meant to be a landfill inside a building. The point is the material should be coming in, sorted, and sold out the back. Whether we have to pay to get rid of it, and that's happened a number of times with materials that there was no homes for, that they were buying, we would have to pay a company to actually take it. It is not our first idea to take it to a landfill, because we've already got transportation involved. We've already got employees involved. The value would just not be there. And we can't continue to create piles and piles. That was a big problem a number of years ago when the recycling markets dropped. And municipalities and counties had their own collection systems. And so because they couldn't sell it for a profit, they just held on to it. Well, now they have these mounds of material with nowhere to go, and they literally had to stop collecting recyclables altogether. That is not the way our company's model is for recycling. Our job is to make sure that what you're putting at the curb, and when it comes to us, that we find a home for it. Whether we're making that $185 or we're paying $185, we got to keep that material moving out of the building. The only things we're throwing away is that which cannot be recycled. Just because it doesn't have the same home all the time or the pricing is bad, we will still do that.
It was a great question. Oh, I think we have one more.
Okay.
Right here.
What about makeup containers such as lipstick tubes, mascara? No.
No.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. That's a good question.
What about aluminum baking pans, things like that, if they're clean?
No, I understand. It's like the same thing as foil. Here's what I've been told. Okay, and I know some communities will allow it, and we don't address it, okay, generally. But I asked this question a long time ago. The way in which aluminum is priced in the bale is under the Uniform Beverage Code. So the Uniform Beverage Code has a particular type of quality of the aluminum that you're going to find in beverage. Your roasting pans, your foil liners, your tin foil, your pie pans do not meet the strength of the Uniform Beverage Code. So if you put it in, will it end up with the aluminum? It could be, but it could deteriorate the value somewhat. We definitely don't want foil. Like you wrapped something and now you're going to get rid of the foil. We don't want that. If you put a pan or two in, I get it, but generally speaking, we don't want those because they're not meeting the standard for the buyers, for Anheuser-Busch, for lack of a better buyer in our market.
Yes, what part of the 43% fiber that you listed is clothing?
None.
None?
None.
No clothing?
We do not
that's-
recycle clothing. That fiber takes into account any paper or cardboard. I'm sorry if that was confusing. The nice part is Waste Management has a partnership with Reprieve, and I think you saw a little bit of it in the video. Reprieve has a manufacturing location in South Carolina. They are a very big buyer from us in that region for water bottles. They are then literally melting down water bottles, creating new polyester thread. Okay? How many of you own a fleece jacket? How many have bought it in the last 5 years? Okay, your jacket is probably 100% recyclable, or recycled, not recyclable. These jackets, and I have one here, are made out of recycled water bottles. That material gets spun back down into thread and made into all new fabric. That's why Mohawk's buying bottles. They're making fiber to make carpets. Same thing with the manufacturers of a lot of the durable goods that we now buy. Reprieve, that particular facility, spins it back into polyester thread and makes other types of clothing. In fact, all of the waste management drivers and helpers now have clothing that they wear on route that's yellow and green, that's made out of recycled water bottles, specifically by that company.
We have the ever popular pizza box question.
Pepperoni or mushroom? I
Supreme.
like both. Okay, what is the big question on pizza?
Can you recycle the pizza boxes?
Is the box clean?
If it has the oil and grease and melted cheese on it, then no.
Right.
My son said during the Super Bowl, they were coming on and telling people you can recycle them because so many people were buying pizzas.
Pizza boxes are recyclable. They're corrugated, okay? Without the grease. So if you have so if I get
rip
my
the lid
pizza,
off. That's what
right.
I do. I just rip the lid off.
Or if my
then
pizza
put it-
came with a liner and it's got crumbs, okay, I'm gonna get rid of that. And I'm gonna look. If the bottom of the box isn't greasy, it's all going in. As long as there's not cheese clinging from this, the lid. If it's clean, recycle it. If it's not, don't waste the upper half because you got a little bit of cheese in the bottom half. Waste the bottom half, trash that, put the rest of it in recycle.
I think,
No, I'm
yeah.
sure they wanted all that cardboard recycled. That they weren't going to be specific about whether there was anchovies or, something else sticking to it. Yes, sir. Okay, pizza question.
Sorters there
Yes.
automatically pull out pizza box.
No.
Because they're not going to know whether it's clean or dirty.
If they see something that
Correct.
definitely should not be there, most of the time it's a safety hazard. Okay, so the pre-sorters are pulling out the bowling balls, the Christmas lights. I had a tour there a couple years ago and was standing along that sorting line. And one of the gentlemen, and it's a pretty long line. This one isn't quite as long as the one we have at the Murph. There's about 4 gentlemen staged. So it comes up the conveyor, and all this mixed stuff is moving past them. Their job is to quickly identify things that don't belong and get them off. A lot of times they're pulling plastic bags, plastic bags, plastic bags, plastic bags. Here comes a garden hose. The garden hose is kind of wiggled underneath everything, so you can't really see it, and so it starts to stretch out, right? He finally sees it. He reaches in to grab the garden hose. Well, guess where the other end is? It's already at this end, going into the next spinner. Lost his glove. And they have to wear protective equipment. But as he got a hold of it, it pulled, because it had gotten that long across the system and was in the next circulation. Those kinds of, they're looking for those types of things. And mostly something that'll be a hazard. Was that a hazard to him? Absolutely. He was trying to remove it because it'll end up in the next piece of equipment, binding it up and potentially causing a fire, or having to go in, like you saw, and cutting those items out of that screen. So, good question. Yes, sir.
How clean does the container have to be? What about that peanut butter jar?
What about that peanut butter jar? I saw a really good article where there was a woman, and she said, everybody asks me about the peanut butter jars. She says, send them to my house. My dog loves it. So he'll put his nose in and he licks them all out. So she gets like all the community's peanut butter jars because her dog, can get his nose in there and loves to lick them out. If you can wipe it out, that's fine. We don't want peanut butter. Sauces are worse because they'll gravitate to other items. Why do you want to waste the peanut butter? I mean, get your scraper or find another way to get the extra peanut butter out. I know it's a tricky one. If you really don't want to clean it, or maybe something else happened to the peanut butter, I don't know, you can throw it away. The peanut butter police are not being called. There's always that one-off. What I used to always hate was cleaning dog food cans of dog food. For whatever reason, they made me sick. I did it, but they made me sick.
Behind many commercial concerns, I only see one dumpster, sometimes a second one with cardboard in it. Where's that stuff go?
Can you clarify that a little bit? You mean you only see one? Oh, so you mean where's their recycle dumpster? Yeah. Well, that depends. So the commercial businesses are required to recycle. So they should have both trash and recycling. Yeah, it could be inside. So there's balers. There's also, I have a lot of schools that have compactors that are inside the building with the recycle dumpster inside of the building. So, you know, you might just not be able to see it from the street. But they are required to recycle businesses.
Even behind a strip mall, for example.
Yes.
I only tend to see one dumpster behind each business.
Somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I might be loud enough.
So they can hear you.
I haven't heard this tonight, but the one that I keep hearing a lot is when in doubt, throw it out. So if you have any questions about whether it's recyclable or not, you're much better off to throw it in the trash rather than throw it in recyclables. Is that your...
That is correct. What I would just add is, when in doubt, find out.
Okay.
Then throw it out. Yeah, well, there you go. Exactly. Well, if you go to that website, you'll know. You'll know. You can call to that still don't know. You're buying the wrong things. I think that's the problem. No. So let's see what you got. She brought
We have a couple more
Props.
questions too.
props. Do you mind? Okay. Okay. So these are things you don't know. Okay. So on the bottom of this, we have a PP. That's a number 5. Polypropylene, same as your butter dishes, same as your yogurt dishes. Absolutely, plus the lid. Yes, that's a yes. Correct me if I'm wrong. I will. Sure. Right. I wouldn't. Okay. It may make it through, but if the lid pops off, yeah, they're scattered. It's a good try. That was really
Good effort. Good effort.
I just don't know that it's going to make it. This is also polypropylene. Okay. Again, take out normally something like that. It's a judgment call. It's smaller than, say, a yogurt container. It's going to end up probably being a one-off. Could end up flopping out somewhere with paper or with the aluminum. It will not damage the machine. It just may end up being sorted out as trash because of the size of it. It is not a, it might, but it might end up as trash. Right, but that's kind of like wish cycling. So if your Christmas lights are going to end up with trash, see, and this is part of, I'm being really facetious. Right, right. Because what'll happen is somebody doesn't know, like we were saying, you're just not sure, you know, the type is, but is it really going to make it through? It's a good thing to try if it's the right type. If it's the wrong type or no type, definitely don't bother. Don't bother. All right, this one is, this is an HDPE, high density polyethylene. Yes, not the pump. Just unscrew the pump and take it out. Make sure the container's rinsed to get rid of the excess residue. Yeah, same. Take the pump out. This is a number 2, HDPE, high density polyethylene. You know what's ironic about HDPE? I've been with the company way too long. You use HDPE to line a landfill. So if this plastic is strong enough to protect your moisturizer, it's actually the exact same material, although it's not a recycled product, to line landfills because it is the most chemically resistant plastic there is. Kind of weird how that works. Too small? Yes, back to that the question about foil. It could make it through. I won't say it won't, but we would prefer cans and bottles versus smaller types of pans. And this one is polystyrene. This is the number 4? 6?
I think it's 6.
Okay. I've been told we can accept clamshells if they're clean. Don't put it in. It's a salad and dressing. It's going to go into a mixed plastic. And what we generally do with mixed plastics, thank you for bringing these, by the way. And no, we don't want your deodorant container. No. The mixed plastics will go to another processor. The really crazy part about plastic is when you shred it into little pieces and you float it through water, they rise and sink at different levels. So they'll sort out the different types based on which level it's floating on. So the mixed loads will go through a process like that, and then that shred gets sold separately. That's not one of our processes, but we do have companies that we sell to. Usually it's a sell to for mixed plastics versus it being bought. Thank you.
Questions?
Oh, I forgot your container. Hold on.
See me? Oh, okay.
You had a question?
If we're McCulloch or Whitetail customers, does our recycling material nevertheless end up at a waste management plant?
It can, or it could end up at a JP Mascaro plant, or it could end up at a Republic facility. Here's what happens with the industry. We all have our own plants, but sometimes they're too far apart. So for instance, in Berks County, we don't have a sorting center in Berks County. So the recyclables that are collected there, if we don't have a way to transport it or transfer it to our own facility, we'll take it to the closest plant. That's what keeps our price down, that's what keeps your price down, and gets those materials into the loop that much quicker. So it's not, we try to go to our own company, but it's not a guarantee. It can go to other industries also. No aerosol containers. I will tell you that the company does accept them, yes. I personally haven't, and I'll say it's my aversion. I was at a hazmat incident at one of our MRFs up in Lehigh County, and it was a simple aerosol can that got punctured in the process. They evacuated the building. Every single employee had to be scrubbed down because they didn't know what had been in the can. Now, is aerosol cans, can they be recycled? Yes, they can. I am not going to tell you to empty the can and puncture it to be sure, because I don't want anyone else injured. It's a scrap. If you have a scrap dealer nearby, I'm sure they would love to take it. I get a little leery about aerosol cans because we don't know if there's still material in it, if it's still pressurized. We don't want anything automotive. I had a tour many moons ago at the landfill I was working at, and recycling was just popped, had just come out under Act 101, and I was talking about HDPE, that high-density polyethylene, which ironically, when you buy motor oil in a container, it's HDPE. Again, it's chemically resistant, so all those kinds of things come in that kind of plastic container. And an older gentleman on the bus, and I said, never put that in. You know, it'll contaminate everything. Oh, no, he said, I wash mine. I wash mine out. I said, what do you mean? I soap it up and I rinse it and I rinse it out. I said, don't ever do that again. Because what he was doing was, as you can understand, is putting residue from the oil container out into a waterway or even into a septic system or a sewer system. He thought he was doing the right thing for this rule, forgetting one of the other big no-nos. So, no, trash it. Now, not full. I'm talking an empty container. If you have used motor oil because you change your own oil, take it back to your Pep Boys, your AutoZone, your Advanced Auto. Most of them will accept used motor oil. And it doesn't even have to be in the original container. I've seen it show up in milk jugs.
We got a couple over here.
Okay. Whew. Only a few more minutes, folks.
Two quick items. Kids' juice boxes and milk containers?
Juice boxes are foil lined, I would say no.
Okay.
Milk cartons are not.
Okay.
They're like mini milk cartons, yes.
Okay. And how about any bottle that contains like canola oil, olive oil?
Absolutely. Just drain it out. Even just squirt a little bit of detergent in it. Swish it around. Yeah, that's good. Just drain it a little bit. No, you don't have to get all that, wipe that out. But again, if I'm holding it upside down and its stuff's running, it's not drained yet. You don't want to have anything moving within the container. If it has a little bit of residue clinging to it, that's okay. We just don't want it leaving the container. And the other issue is, as it's waiting outside in your garage or in your container, if you don't have something with a lid on, what do you think is attracted to your oil container? Or to your not so clean peanut butter jar? Either the neighbor's dog or, you know, a friendly raccoon or whatever. It's like just putting garbage out on the curb unprotected. So the best you can do, You don't have to go crazy. It's not like we're not gonna eat out of it and just put it back on the shelf as some other new oil product. So, good job. You're welcome.
How about wrapping paper and those birthday bags that you get from CVS?
Birthday bags are fine. Wrapping paper is fine as long as it's not sparkly.
Glitter.
Glitter's bad. Glitter.
Do you want to do one more, and then we got to leave time for that as well?
Okay. Go ahead, Jen. Your turn. I'm sorry. I keep answering.
My question is just, do you have a card that I work at a school and I'd love to.
Which school?
The Comwell-Egan. It's Falls Township.
We know where it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a supporter of Comwell-Egan.
Yeah. So I would love if you could come out and talk to
Yeah,
the
we can
kids.
talk.
All
We
right.
can talk.
Great.
Okay.
And then one more question.
And then we're going to let Paul take
Okay.
control of the room.
This has nothing to do with what we recycle, but when we first started this in Middletown, we all had the same recyclable can.
Same
And everything
recyclable
looked
what?
Very
Cans?
organized.
Right.
And now it's just a hodgepodge of cans out there and everything else. Is Middletown going to start?
Do you think that's because more people are recycling more things, and the cans were not big enough to begin with?
Yes, and other
Because we've
townships
changed a
have the
lot,
great
haven't
big
we?
Cans.
In the last,
Yeah.
how many years has it been?
And I was just
Recycling has changed, and quantities of what we're creating at home have changed. So, bigger containers are probably a good thing.
That is an excellent question. So 2 things. With the latest waste management contract, Bristol Township is one model where you have a 90-gallon tote and you put your trash and your recycling in and an automated truck comes in there. Correct. We are slowly moving to that model. The current contract, because the residents of Middletown at the time wanted to keep their own smaller thing and didn't want the big 90-gallon toters. There's going to be a process in life that it's going to be an automated truck and a 90-gallon toter, and there won't be a choice, okay? So that's what's going to happen eventually, okay? But that was a great segue because first I wanted to thank the representatives from Waste Management, Patty Barthel and Jennifer Smith. I want to thank them for their time this evening. So a couple things. First off, this Environmentally Speaking series was featured by our EAC, okay? The next one is next month. March 28th is on rain gardens. So we hope we can get as many people out there for rain gardens on your residency, okay? Small little rain gardens, everything else like that, cut down on the grass, all that good stuff. I want to do a blatant promotion for our multi-municipal Earth Day event on Saturday, April 29th over at Core Creek Park. Tree giveaway, all that kind of stuff. You'll learn a lot of good features and everything. And if the little guys want to come along, we have stuff for them so they keep busy while mom and dad learn some stuff, okay? Finally, on the recycling bins, for the 12,000 or so residents of Middletown Township, around St. Patty's Day, you're going to receive a card in the mail so that if you want, you can get a 32-gallon recycling can, got the lid, got the wheels. So what you see on the screen with the 90-gallon, so this is much smaller, okay? When you get that card, you can sign up, and Middletown residents can get these. People that have their own contracts at the Flowers Mill or anything else like that won't get that because they have their own little thing going on, okay? Yes? So the short answer is yes. So 2 things. This tonight was being recorded, and once we edit it for time, we're going to put that on our TV and our website so that anything that was there tonight, if you ask the most intellectual question ever, you can go back and replay it forever and show all your friends, okay? So that will be out there. We will also have the PowerPoint slide, sure, that will also be on our website, so if there's anything that you wanted to take on with that. And if you come to Earth Day or have all your students from Conwell, Egan, come to Earth Day on Saturday, April 29th at Cork Creek from 11 to 2, I'm sorry. They'll get all this kind of information. We get several environmental advisory councils, not only from Middletown Township, but from Falls Township, Newtown. So we have a wide breadth. The Penn State Master Watershed folks are coming and everything else like that. So it's a really great time. Okay, so I just wanted to plant the seed about the recycling bid and what it's about, everything else like that. So on or around St. Patty's Day, the residents can get a card, you could register, and there's 4 different pickup days. This was through a grant that some employees of the township got, so we have about 2,400 of them to give away. So if you're interested, great. Okay, I want to thank you so much for coming out tonight, and again, have a safe trip home. Thank you.